Hello, welcome. I'm Dr. Paul Grandmaster. You're listening to the AMAA Martial Arts Masters Radio Network. What we're going to do today is that, we're going to start this show here in martial sciences. Now, I'll be coming to you every Thursday at 3 p.m. And what we try to do with this network is to bring to you an education that is about the things that you are trying to practice, the things that you want to practice, and the things you just might not know about. So today in this segment, what we're going to talk about is the mind. And we know that the martial arts has a lot to do with a lot of physical practice. And you've been listening to some amazing points about that. You've been listening to some amazing points, even with our sports karate history with Professor Gary Lee. And we also know we talked about the meditation with Grandmaster Jesse Bowen. Here on this network, we're trying to do more to martial arts and bring martial arts to a different level than most common people really understand. Okay? And that is key to us as educators, teachers, and again, the forever student. You know, we may have the title Grandmaster or Senior or whatever, Hanshi, and that does not do us justice if we are the practitioner of a lifelong history that's been going back for thousands and thousands of years. And we're just students, taking that idea of being a student and sharing it to the brotherhood, the sisterhood, the family of martial arts. So let's just dive right into the martial sciences. You've heard it mentioned before, martial sciences. And what I want to start out with on this segment here is to know that we're going to build an education piece so you can keep going back to this. And this is why these podcasts is so important, to keep that martial science brain moving in that frontal lobe. Now, the frontal lobe is the lobe, obviously it's in the front, and it keeps you, what you call, in that thinking part of your brain. We understand if you keep thinking, you keep understanding, you may even have rational thought, but I don't want you to fall back into, oh, I heard this before, oh, I've seen this before, even, oh, I can do that. Because if you do, you take away your part of your life that you will become the student. So I want you to open up that brain. And the only way you can probably open up that brain is to release that part of your heart that is so tightly wound. We can love, but it seems we love in judgment. Don't love yourself in judgment because you are so knowledgeable that you can't open up your brain with the love of yourself. Now, what's the correlation between that? So, I of course, like many of us in the age group that I'm in, we grew up Bruce Lee fans, and so many people grew up Bruce Lee fans. And we remember this segment when he says, empty your cup. We've seen it written in different memes and pictures before, and we've seen different things says you have to empty this cup. That is what I'm referring to. What is it in this cup? What is it that we need to empty? Now, some people say that the cup is the things I have learned. It's not true. Or the cup is I have to empty is that am I able to learn something new? That is also not true. The cup that you must empty is the mind from being a monkey mind, the scattered mind, that you're not able to absorb. Just recently, we had a full moon. And in that full moon was giving off so much energy because of that, the part of the hemisphere and the time of year we're in. But I'm not going to get into that. But so how do you feel that energy? You have to release the tightness that you have within your body. Then you can feel that pull, that magnetic pull that comes, and you can receive that power. It's absolutely amazing. I did a movements out there in the moon. That's just me, because I wanted to do that absorption. I wanted to do that release into that hemisphere. And there's different practices like that. And that's when it comes to the martial sciences. If you talk about the martial sciences and we talk about this moon and we mention the cosmology of what the moon gives off, like the sun or any other planets or stars, there is a power source that comes from the moon. There is a power source that comes from plants, the earth, and all things matter. How to receive that is to open that heart of love for yourself, to then you can start magnifying that antenna of your brain. We've heard it called the third eye in the center part of your forehead. And then you may have read and seen the chakras and things like that. And we can get into that a whole different time. But the martial sciences specifically targets you to release those powers that we so eminently have been born with. So, when we get into the martial sciences, we want to actually get into the real connection of the vibration. And if I had a chart, and charts are really cool, so what I want you to do, I want you to draw or make a circle of the moon. And we're going to specifically talk about the moon this last days, because then that moon's going to get into the healing. So with that signal that was coming from the moon, there was an alpha signal that was coming from it. So we know we have different waves, alpha, beta, right? And then there's other waves that brain connects to. So, but the alpha wave that was coming from, as we receive it in our relaxing state, it turns into a beta wave. In that beta wave, the body's cells calm down. Yes, you've seen the beta waves in your sleep too, right? But if you are in a practice and you come into your beta wave connection, your body starts to relax its cells and it allows it to rest along with active breathing to increase its strength. Normally, when you are in a beta section, you're probably asleep. But when you are able to get into a beta wave while you are not asleep, but consciously awake, and to work into your subconscious and to connect those consciousness, subconscious, the active consciousness, with that wave, the relaxing of the cells in the body, with the active breathing, strengthens the cells. And then as we do our movements, and certain Tai Chi movements, certain Qigong movements, and certain Wuji movements that we're able to do, with those movements, we then circulate that throughout the body. And in that circulation, between that circulation down in a lower part of the belly, we start to move that. That's that power we're talking about. And in that movement, the body is healing from its own sickness. It is also releasing the poisons through our different exit points. Our hands, our feet, our lower bodies, our crown, and our perineum. Those are releasing points that opens and closes. Now the perineum is right between the rectum and your private parts, and so that's the point there, and then the crown, the top of your head. And then also another key point is in the palm of your hands and the bottom of your feet. So in these movements, right, we are creating the circular waveform of movement. Now, as you go back up into the cells in a relaxed state, but yet strengthening state of the beta waves, with the active breathing, increasing oxygen, also blood flow, coming from that connection of the different signals. That we're just talking specifically about the moon, but you can also increase those same signals from the trees, from the water, from the wind. All those have different energy signals. If you did not even know that, with just you opening up your beta receptors in that wave that's inside of your body, you start to increase that healing. That is the martial sciences about actions and movement. Now, I know you may have some questions, and you'll have those questions. And never forget that you can always email me at drpaulwdyer@gmail.com. That's drpaulwdyer@gmail. Or you can call me at 701-388-1899. Now, bridging that understanding, and that's why this show is called Bridges with Dr. Paul. And in the martial sciences, we don't want you to get confused in thinking that this is some type of fantasy, like it can be portrayed. It's fun to watch some of those things being portrayed, but there's more to it. So in that more, there's an understanding. It's fun to watch it and it's fun to see it. But like I teach my students, when we watch some of those movies together, they're like, "Sir, so what is that they're doing?" "Oh, see that move there?" We would literally pause it and get down, and I would show them that connective waveform that you'll see, or that punch that comes from that internal breath. It's part of that science, and the punch doesn't come from just the internal breath, but the connection to the earth and how it's able to be pushed off from the ground, because that's part of your stance, right? And that's part of your movement inside that circular body. Now, it doesn't matter what style you take or study or have studied. It is all very succinctful together. Different names are called, because even throughout the planet, even through the Hopi, and it's in an Indian form, throughout all the planets, even they had a connection to the earth, and they knew that connection. They studied the stars. Hopefully you've seen some of these great History Channel things that shows you how the indigenous people of around the globe studied that science. That's the science I'm talking about. Why do we call it a martial science? Because us as martial artists, we had included that into our practice. From the old Buddhist camps and Chan and Zen Buddhists, and all those internment did something, and we understood why it was done. There's so much more we're going to talk about. So let's go back over that again. So as you are relaxing your body, and this is where meditation comes in, but it's a meditation between the conscious and the subconscious, putting that together, able to open up that brain so you allow your heart to start pulling in those vibrations. Because pulling in those vibrations allows for the cells in the body and the different parts of the organs to relax. In the active breathing, and we'll go over breathing techniques so much later in another time, but the active breathing creates that strengthening of the cells. The movement creates the circulation. You should see me. I know this is a podcast, but I'm moving as I'm talking because it's so much a part of the action to do, right? So in that movement creates that circulation, and that circulation is so important. Never stop training and practicing, and we'll keep touching more upon this in this next half time. Remember,